Hey guys, what's up? Caleb Downing here, and today we're talking about this guy right here. Not the gun, the optic itself, this little guy right on top. This is the Osight from Olight, their S model. Fully enclosed RMSc footprint. I'm excited about this one. Let's get into it. Alright, so the Osight from Olight. Osight was brought out, what was it, last year, year before? It's only been around not very long, I think about a year. We have their original one, we still use it, this guy right here. This is their original Osight, and it was a full RMR style, large window, kind of around when other companies were coming out with a, I don't even know what their versions are called, but an extra large glass, you know, big window kind of thing. That was the original one. And we've had this for a while. I've honestly used it, and full disclosures, they sent me this model. They also sent me this model right here. So I did not pay for these optics, so if what I have to say about all these things, if you need to take it with a grain of salt, you go ahead and do so. But as always, we're going to give our most unbiased opinion. Not most unbiased opinion. That sounds like we're hiding something. It's an unbiased opinion. If they stop sending me stuff, that's fine, because I'm not going to tell you guys something that's not true. All right? And do my best to not give you any bad, false information. So my experience, not just my preference or whatever I might want to say, my experience with these optics has been way up there. It's been very, very good. So far, I have not had a really bad thing to say about it. So again, if you need to take what I say with a grain of salt, you go ahead and do that, but we're going to move forward with this, and I'm going to let you know what comes in the box with the S version and kind of some of the features and standout things to me. All right, so let's get into what comes in the box. Alright, some people really like the unboxing experience. I'm not going to give you that full kind of thing, but it does come in there, you know, it's a cool box. I don't really care. What that does tell me is that at least they thought about putting things in there properly, and it's packaged well, so it's not going to be damaged in shipping. You're going to get your optic that goes right here. Down here, this is where we actually just start getting into stuff, you're going to get your charging block, a charging little thing that goes on top, and this is what charges your optic. Right? The optic, and if you haven't picked up on it already, the optic itself is rechargeable. There's no battery, there is a battery in there, but there's no battery that you put into it. It's all self-enclosed, sealed up and everything. So the only way to charge the optic is with this little block right here. So don't lose this block. All right? That's the Achilles heel. If you lose the block, you can't charge your optic. There's no way around it that I know. But that comes in the box as well. Obviously, you're going to need a way to charge that. You're also going to get, I'll just go ahead and show you because I pulled them out because nobody likes to see you open up little cardboard boxes. You're going to get your charging cable. This is a USB-C that charges your block. You're going to get a little lanyard, which they didn't have these on the other ones, on their first gen. This is for your little charging block deal here, is you have a little hole in the side that you can run your little lanyard through so that you don't lose this. Again, you don't want to lose this. So they kind of, you know, saw ahead and they decided to go ahead and include that in the box. It's nice. You'll get your screws. I've mentioned this before, and I'll mention it again, and I'll probably mention it again if they have another one of these. I love how they give you these screws. This sounds like a little deal, but they give you 4 different styles, and I believe it's two different lengths per style. There's 6 screws in each one of these, or bolts, whatever you would want to call them. In each one of these, there's 6 of them. And you have 632, M4, 6x40, and M3. So unless you, I mean, that's going to cover your major bases as far as hosts, being able to mount these things. The fact they give you the longer ones and the shorter ones, they give you all the options that you need. And it comes in a cool little box. Not just a cool little box, but a convenient little box so that it's labeled, you can see which screws you got, and there's no questions about it. It's not a bunch of little Ziploc bags that are going to get lost and you don't know what's going on. This is attention to detail. I'm going to stop drooling about this, but I wish other companies, even companies that charge 5 times the amount for these optics, I wish they would go ahead and do something like this, because they use little plastic baggies. I don't like that. I do like this. It also comes with your tool. This is for mounting. You got your little Torx. I don't remember if this is a Torx 10. Does it say it on here? Probably not. But it's a little Torx. It's a standard size Torx, which really is no standard, but generally 85–90% of these screws all use the same head anyway. And then on one side you have a little flat driver for zeroing. Goes for your little zeroing. Other than that, you get your little microfiber cloth, and they give you a little baggie that you can put all this stuff in, keep it in a range bag, and you always have it, you know, make sure you have what you need with you. You'll get your instructions. Talking about attention to detail, again, you'll get this little yellow card, you know, gives you some instructions on zeroing, pretty self-explanatory stuff, but they give you the torque value that you need. That's nice. Again, attention to detail. They give you the torque value that you're going to need to screw these things down, even though there's no way to hook this up to a Torx driver, but if you have one, now you have the ability to know, oh, these need to be torqued down to whatever these are, 15 or 17 inch-pounds. It's just attention to detail things that stand out to me that you don't have to look that up on a form. You don't got to go searching around, send an email out, knock stuff over on the floor. You don't have to do any of that stuff. They give you the information. I like that. I like that a lot. So let's go over, that's stuff you get in the box. Let's kind of go over some of the things that stand out to me. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and just read all these to you. That would be really boring. So I'm going to throw up a picture of this, and if you want to pause it, you go right ahead. If you want to look at more pertinent, not pertinent, if you want to look at more specific information, I believe all of this would be available on their website. If it's not, then shame on them, but I'm just going to assume that it is. But I'll throw up there a screenshot for you and just kind of hit the high points of what stands out to me. All right, so your construction is 61 aluminum, right? So that's the housing for the optic. The housing for the charging case, that is plastic. That's what they're talking about there. The housing for the optic is not plastic. Don't misunderstand that there. Your weight is 1.16 ounces. It's very lightweight. And your fully charged time from a dead optic to a full charge time is about an hour and a half. Which is not bad. Since we're talking about run times and stuff, according to them, this is according to them, you're going to get, depending on which reticle you have, because it has 3 reticles. It has a 2 MOA dot, it has a 2 MOA dot with a 32 MOA ring, and then it just has a 32 MOA ring. So depending on your styles, they give you that option. That was not an option on the original Gen 1 version of these things. But on these Gen 2 versions, you have the multi-reticle option, okay? So if you're running the circle dot, you're getting 20,000 hours, according to them. Just the dot itself, you're getting 21,900 hours. And if you're running just the circle, you're getting 20,000 hours. That, according to them, is at 100% power, I believe with Shake Awake on and all those features. That's pretty impressive. And I can tell you from personal experience, running an optic, the old one, on full brightness setting, I believe it was full brightness setting, no shake awake, constant on all the time, it lasted between 2 and 3 weeks, so almost, not quite a month, but almost a month there. If you ran it on a standard setting, for me, and operating like how I like to actually have it on, is about setting 7, which is a little bit higher than medium, so a little bit brighter, you're gonna get well into a month with that. Which tells me that every 3 weeks, if you go take your little optic cover, your charger, you plop that guy on and charge it for an hour, or overnight, just drop it on there, you're going to be good every 3 weeks. And then you don't have to check batteries, you don't have to check stuff, you don't have to do any of that. That stuff to me is outstanding. That's very outstanding to me. Since we're already on it, there's a couple more specs I'll get to in just a second, but since we're already talking about the optic and the battery and all that stuff, on the side here, you only have 2 buttons. You have your plus and your minus buttons. You can use these buttons to change your reticle, to turn off the auto sensing. On the front there is a little auto sensor, so you can turn off the auto dimming. You can turn off the shake awake. You can do all those features on here, and I'll throw up a screenshot, you know, for the pertinent information as far as what, you know, how you do that. But also, you can't really see it unless it's on, but in between the plus and the minus button, there's a little LED indicator. If you press one of the buttons, you should see that little LED indicator come on, and right now it's going to be green. If the optic is green, I'm going to make sure I read this one right because I'll probably get it wrong. It tells you your battery level, your status, your battery status. If the little LED indicator is green, that means you have 50% or above power level. If it is yellow, you have 50 to 20%. If it's red, you got 20 to 10%, and if it's blinking red, that means you've got 10% or less. That means you really need to get the thing charged. That is something that I really don't think that any other optic out there has that, because aside from like a solar charging which I know there's a different company that has a solar charging system. It's not a block charger that you actually physically charge it. It just charges off the sun. Aside from that one other company that has that optic, I don't know of another optic that runs off of an internal, fully enclosed rechargeable battery. So because of that, I don't think any other company has that. Not that I'm aware of anyway. Correct me if I'm wrong, that no other company has that feature to where you can check your battery level. You simply, the way I've always had to do it before is you write your date on the battery. When you put it in, you run it, and then when it dies, then you check that, and now you know you have, 3 months, 4 months, a year, however long, or people just change them every year. It's kind of what generally people have been told to do. On your birthday, on Christmas, on some specific date, change your battery. This, you don't have to do that. If you can check it all the time if you really want to go and check it, or like I said, if every 3 weeks, depending on which levels you got this on, you just pop your charger on, it's gonna charge it, and it's gonna be fully charged, gonna be ready to go. I think that's awesome. All right, so what did we do with this thing? We did not shoot 100 million rounds. I'm not gonna lie to you guys and say that we have thousands of rounds through this already. We've only had it for a relatively short period of time. So I think fully I have a couple hundred rounds through it, which is not like crazy. No, that's just getting it broken in, to be honest. That's just getting it broken in. We did do some drop tests, and we checked zero. Just simple function stuff. This is the only host we had it on, this 365XL, the only host we had it on. And so far, I don't have anything negative to say about it, which is a red flag. Like, you need to have something negative to say about it. I mean, MSRP's running between $2 and $250, I believe, which for what you're getting, I wish I could say negative about that, but I don't know. Maybe it does have integrated rear sights, so maybe they should have offered integrated fiber optic rear sights. That would have been nice, because then that could have stood out well with my, I think it's a tritium front sight. That would have been nice. They could have maybe done that. Maybe they'll do that in the future, but really, I don't have a whole lot negative to say about it, so sorry about it. They do have, since we're talking about back here, they do have audible and tactile clicks, which I keep saying it, but I'm going to say it again, attention to detail. I don't know how many different other little lower end budget optics I've had that have a free spinning adjustment, and they're fine, but you really lack some confidence as far as like, is this thing really going to hold zero? There's nothing keeping the little, the adjustments in place, but these have tactile audible clicks, meaning there's something holding that together. And so far, this guy has not lost zero. The drop tests that we did, the way that I'm going to move forward doing drop tests, I think it is important to do them. I think a lot of people overdo them, and then several people out there in the industry actually do them very well and very consistently. My ideology behind this is, yes, you can drop your gun. Now, you're probably not throwing it off of a house or a building, or bashing it against a tree or running it over with your car, because most people aren't ever going to do that. But what you could do is accidentally knock it off the table. It could accidentally fall off the edge of a truck, the tail bed of a truck. Not while it's moving, you should not be doing that, but just falling off the tail bed of a truck. Or dropping it somehow, some way from about waist height. And that kind of goes back into the specs. I know we're kind of jumping around, but the specs that we're talking about, it is rated for 1 meter drops, which is basically fills all those categories. Falling off the bed of a truck, falling off a table, waist height drops, you're going to holster or something like that, that's a meter. That's about a meter, 3 feet, something like that. And so it's rated for that. And so we did that. Now, we didn't do it on concrete because it didn't have concrete. The gravel was covered in sheet ice. I was slipping all over the place. Ice is pretty hard. I mean, it has some give to it, but it's pretty hard. And we did that. We dropped this guy 3 times on its head. I was honestly a little bit scared, especially since this has the charging port on top, but nothing happened. The glass didn't break. The optic held zero, and like it was good to go. Like, you'd never really be able to tell by looking at this. Maybe whenever the ice thaws out, can't think of words, when the ice thaws out, maybe we can get out and drop it on some rocks or something. But for now, for regular, everyday, normal, practical dropping the gun on the ground, like it worked perfectly fine. Initial zero, right? Confirmation zero. We chased it around a little bit, initial zero. We are a little bit high, that's okay, but I know where we're shooting. About 150 rounds later, 3 waist height drops later, on this ice. This stuff here is a little bit more snowy. Where we dropped it, that's basically ice. I'm slipping on it. It's pretty hard stuff. After all that, we have our confirmation zero to see if anything shifted. From what I'm seeing, no, nothing shifted. You still have your primary group high but centered, and this is high but centered. That's basically it. You could maybe make an argument that it opened up a tiny bit. You could maybe make that argument. However, I will tell you this, the barrel on this gun is brand spanking new. So it is being broken in along with like everything else on the gun. The slide itself is not new, but the barrel is brand new. So I will throw that in there to say maybe as we shoot more and more, the accuracy will tighten up, because that's generally what happens for guns for me. It's like new guns. But as far as the optic doing its job, I don't see the optic like shifting. If I'm aiming here and all of a sudden I was hitting down here, okay, then we got a problem. Like if this reversed and came down here, we would have a problem. That would not be a barrel thing, that would be an optic thing. But we don't. We have a maintained zero of, you know, about 2 inches high, maintained zero of about 2 inches high. Opened up a tiny bit, I'm okay with that, but optic didn't break itself loose, it didn't die, it didn't fall apart, nothing bad happened as far as I can tell. So, did it maintain zero? For me, after 150 rounds, 3 drops, yes, it did. The only other thing on here that I'm going to mention is this has an IPX rating of 7. I don't even know what IPX ratings and stuff, all that I know, I should look it up, but that basically meaning this thing is fully enclosed. Since you can't put a battery in, take a battery out, there's no battery tray, there's no nothing there, it's a fully enclosed in the rear, which means you can wipe it off if it gets nasty, and even if your front's all messed up, wipe off the back and you can use 2 eyes open and look through there and still see your optic and you're fine. But because of all that, it's fully sealed, which means you can submerge it in water. That's basically my understanding of IPX7. So certain depth at a certain amount of time. I'm not scuba diving with my stuff. Maybe you are with yours, and if you do, that's cool. But if you happen to drop it fully submerged in water, you're not gonna hurt it. You're not gonna hurt it. All right, guys, I think that pretty much hits the main things I wanted to talk about. One other little thing. There's other optics that have a very similar look and feel to them and stuff, but they have white and red lettering that a lot of people take their Sharpie out and mark off, you know, the lettering because they don't like distracting logos and stuff. Osight hasn't done that. They have actually etched their logo into the optic, and it's all just blacked out. The only other color on here is the silver on top. This is the charging pad, and that's the only other place where there's any markings. I mark my screws, that's me, but there's no white, red, other letter marking stuff on here. It's very discreet and professional looking, I think. Again, attention to detail. This is something I'm gonna hit real quick, and I think we'll be done. This shows me, and I know people will call me a shill and just hate and all this stuff, and I really don't care. This shows me that Olight has listened and is listening to their customers, their customer base. That other company I mentioned, I'm not going to mention their name. Y'all should, if you use optics and stuff that look like this, you probably know who I'm talking about. People have been marking out those logos on the side for a long time, like long time. Big names in the industry and stuff, they complain about that. As far as I know, that company continues to do that. Why don't they black them out and just etch it into the, you know, into the optic like this? I don't know. I don't know. But this tells me that Osight does have an interest in appeasing and tailoring their products to their customer base. And to me, that speaks volumes. That really speaks volumes. It lets me know that they're not a higher than thou, hoity-toity, we know better than you, so use our product like we say, and if you don't, then it's your fault and you're not smart. That's how I feel like some of these other companies act, because they feel like they know better than the customer. And on some things, they probably do. A lot of things they probably do. But on some things, the customers are the ones that use the product. They know what they want, so the company should listen to them. And I feel like, and in my experience, Osight has done that. So one other thing that Osight has done, speaking of, on the older, I don't even think I have my charging thing for it. Oh, no, I do. On the older charging block here, they had an issue, which I kind of have, but not really, because I can get around it. On your rear sights that are back here, if your charging block goes over and touches and basically is impeded by that rear sight, then the block will not connect and charge to your optic. Mine, I can move it around a little bit, shove it down in there, and it charges perfectly fine. On these new models that they have, they fixed that. When the charging block goes down on top, not like that, goes down on top, it is flush with the back. I mean, hopefully you can see that it is flush with the back, which means that even if you have rear sights right up next to here, you're still going to be able to charge your optic without any impeding of function with rear iron sights. Again, not only is that attention to detail, but that's taking customer feedback into account and changing the next generation of product. I'm gonna leave that there. All right, that's it. Let me know what you guys think. If any of you guys have, it's kind of early for it, but have experience with the Osight S, let me know. Those that don't have this and are thinking about it, looking at it, and you maybe have other models that are very similar, what catches your eye about this model that maybe is different than other models that are out there that are similar, right? What's pros and cons that you see on this? Let me know. I really would like to hear back from you guys, all right? That's it. You guys be good, you be safe. I appreciate you guys, and hopefully we'll catch you in the next video. See ya.